Good afternoon. Welcome to the Hartman Fireside Chat. Today we're addressing how to digitize your alts or how to embrace technology with your alternative business. My name's Keith Roddy, the President of Capital Markets with Hartman, and I'm joined today by Brad West, the COO of AIX. Brad is a veteran of the industry, one of the founding members within the AIX organization, and previously with Franklin Square. So we're privileged to have him with us today and very happy that he's taken some time, especially since he's out of the office doing some personal activities. So we're going through some of the disclosure here. I believe before I pivot to Brad, I'm going to just kind of open up with some comments on Hartman, give you an overview of who we are as an organization. I'll move through these slides quickly, but Hartman is a commercial real estate operator that's been doing business in Texas for 39 years, 100% in commercial real estate again. As you can see there, about a little over 5 million square feet in office space, more than 1 million in industrial, and not quite 2 million square feet in retail. All of our properties are located in the Dallas-Fort Worth, Houston, and San Antonio metro areas, and we work exclusively in the suburban markets. There's a snapshot of the overall organization, 800 million in value, 27 programs. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and introduce our speaker, Brad West. We brought Brad together today really because one of the things we'll go through as he gives his talk today is certainly we work with AIX and all of our products and offerings are available on the AIX platform. But a number of our sellers, as we just described, we've been doing this for 39 years. A number of our sellers are comfortable doing subscription agreements. And we find that oftentimes, the paperwork sits in the office for a while, and then when it comes time to do business, they send in paperwork that's out of date, and it creates a NIGO. So that's a simplified version of just one component that goes away with the utilization of technology and AIX in particular on straight through processing, housing of documents, connecting with custodians and transfer agents, et cetera. But Brad's going to get into the details there. So Brad, the floor is yours, sir. Thank you.
Well, Keith, thank you so much for the opportunity to participate in today's fireside chat with you. And we really value you as a partner and the opportunity to support your team and your offerings and having them available on AIX. So very greatly appreciative of the opportunity. By way of our background, is that we are a technology platform whose sole mission and purpose is simply just to make it easier to do business in support of alternative investments. As you mentioned in terms of where we originated from, we actually originated from an alternative investment sponsor. Probably 70% of our employees actually came from that particular sponsor. And the reason we're here today and the reason we've been building technology the past 6 years is that we had a very deep understanding and appreciation for, historically speaking, how difficult it has been to do business and particularly non-traded alternative investment products. And being sponsor centric, part of that view is the challenge of how do you want to remove those obstacles to raising capital and flipping to be financial advisor centric. It's just looking at the time intensity, how much time is needed to be able to complete these documents. And what we'd see and understand in the broader industry for non-traded products, historically speaking, and we see, particularly in some of the big 2-3 custodial firms, is that the not in good order rates, for non-traded alts can be as high as 50 to 60%. And so we kind of look around and think about, in a retail world, where everything is predicated on technology and everything's point and click, how many retail or consumer experiences does anybody have today where if you try to purchase something electronically or you want to buy it, that 5 out of 10 times or 6 out of 10 times, it's going to come back to you and say, sorry, you missed something in the paperwork. And is given, what technology can do and what is possible. What we've been missioned to do is simply make it easier for everybody to do business. The intent, in our view, is let's make it a better experience for everybody involved. Let's make it so that it's more efficient in terms of cost and time. Let's help from a risk and compliance perspective, because technology has the ability to enforce compliance and checking a balance and rules. And then ultimately, we see this as an opportunity to, grow the pie. We want to make it easier so that when these are the right products for clients, we're lowering that opportunity cost and those kind of frictional points for those advisors and reps who want to be in those products. So they're more inclined to make that investment and have to deal with, some of the challenge of subdocs and paperwork. And then broadly, what that sets it up for is what we've been working very hard to do is to what we call kind of connect the ecosystem, so that we can take the subscription documents, for your products and the other sponsors that we work with. And we always make sure that we have the current form. So whatever that language is, in terms of the attestation, the language, the rules, disclosure, there's total assurance that we've got the right version of your document at any point in time. And then separately, if we're looking at investments that are custodied, that we work with our custodial partners to ensure that not only their documents are current and automatically pulled into the workflow, but we're also working very closely with each party to ensure that effectively everybody's getting what they need. So when the documents are completed and signatures are gathered, and the different parties who have to support supervision approval get everything right the first time. And what it all really means is, at the end of the day, the expectation should be that if someone wants to make an investment, they should be able to complete all that paperwork in just a few minutes. They should be able to make sure that the signatures gathered are reflective and supportive of what everybody's policies are. So there's never a risk of you did an e-signature, but you find out that that particular custodial party won't accept it. We prevent those issues before they become issues. And as we work to get things downstream to custodial parties, we would expect, in our experience, would say that the not in good order rates, are less than 5% in certain wealth management partners. We've seen them as low as, less than 2%, and that's compared against industry averages of 60%. So the oral so what is, let's make it easier to do business. Let's make sure everything that's needed to support paperwork and process and signatures can be completed in minutes. And let's ensure that the in good order should be 95, 98 times out of 100. When you complete something, it's right the first time. And it should also mean that the cycle times, how long it takes to get something where you fill out the paperwork, you gather the signatures, and you've really completed, that process, it should be done, in just a matter of days. And as we look at directly held investments, our experience would say we can see those go front to back in 48 hours. So the name of the game in our view is, how do we use technology to make it easier to do business and support everybody's interest in the process?
Thank you, Brad. Thank you. I believe you have some slides on this, or a demonstration that you wanted to walk through. And by the way, you're able to send in your questions and make this interactive as we go through the process, certainly for Brad or myself, if you have any questions on how this works. But I believe, how do you want to go forward, Brad? Do you want to have your colleague share his screen and do an interactive setting up an account?
Yeah, I thought we do, just because I think we really appreciate the time, and we thought we'd just do the show me. So what we thought we'd do is we'll roll that dice, and then we will, we'll do a live, subscription in a live environment. In some ways, the expression is a picture is worth 1,000 words. So what we thought we'd do is actually step through and show you and show our audience how this process can work front to back. And then we can provide the color commentary. And I think part of and I'll recap this in the end, but ultimately, this is as easy for any advisor who is interested in having access. They can simply send an email to support@AIXplatform.com. And if you provide your name and your email address and the firm you're associated with, we can get them, set up, and then they'll be able to access, the platform to be able to support digital subscription. And what will happen effectively, and I'm with my colleague Daniel, will step through a live demonstration here, is that if they go to the URL app.axplatform.com, they'll be prompted.
Brad, let me just jump in for a second. I just wanted to reiterate what you said, because we here at Hartman have found that one of the compelling aspects of working with AIX. So all they have to do to open an account and then, use the subscription or, other services that you provide, you just send an email there to the support system, and they get a response back with the password to open it up and get started. Is that just paraphrasing what you said to make sure I get that out there?
100%. Is if you send an email to support@axplatform.com, we will typically get you set up in about 30 minutes. And
Perfect.
all we really need to know is your name, your email. And if you happen to know your CRD number, great, but we will get you set up in 30 minutes, and you'll hear from us, and we'll step you through how you access it. But that, bottom line point, as you said, is if you send an email to support@axplatform.com, we will get you set up. And then all you'll be prompted to do is just set up your personal password preferences. And in 60 seconds or less, you can be in and you can commence with your subscription processes.
Thank you. Great stuff. Thank you.
Thank you. And so we're showing right now as an example, let's say that we were having this conversation and it was intriguing to me. I could send an email to support@axplatform.com. I'd simply provide my name and my email address. If I knew my CRD number, that's great. And then our team within 30 minutes will respond. And then there'll be an email that comes back that provides the supporting instructions, says, hey, this is how you access it. You have your login screen. They'll be prompted as a first-time user to set up your password credentials. 60 seconds or less, you're in. And here's an example of, we would say, here's your products. And today we thought to demonstrate, we'd go through the REIT product. I can see the REIT product. I can simply hit begin. And what we'll see here is I can designate, what is the kind of line of business? How do I want to support doing business here? Is it broker dealer, RIA? For today's example, we thought we would just illustrate the RA line of business. I can choose my rep IDs. I can choose soliciting advisor. And the good news is, and one of the things we've been really mindful of, is that once you record your advisor information or account information as we're stepping through, that information persists. So the first time you can come through, you can set up that information. It's simply some very basic data entry. However, the next time you come through, all that information will be there. And that way, if you want to make another investment, that is effectively the information for the advisor in question. So we'll automatically pre-fill. So we found that that's a big selling point as we work with the RA and the advisor community, is not having to rekey the same information over and over and over again. So in this example, Dan is effectively logged in. We selected the Hartman REIT product. Because I had been in here before, I was able to select, my soliciting advisor and account information of interest. It's automatically pre-filling the information for me. And then what I'm able to do is select from my custodial option. So if we look at the Hartman product, it will list for me, do I want to do this as directly held business, or if I'd like it to be custodied, and it will show the complete roster of available custodians. We thought today we would just showcase C&B as an example, because what's going to happen is we're going to generate the subdoc for the REIT product, and we're going to pull in all the paperwork for C&B into this workflow. And as you mentioned, as we kind of open up the discussion today, that you don't have to worry about version. So if a document version has been changed or modified, the system is making sure, as we work with our partners, that everybody involved in a transaction is getting what they need. So by simply saying, hey, we've selected the Hartman REIT product, we've designated C&B as a custodial option, what's happening in the background is the system saying, okay, given the legal entities in this equation, what's all the paperwork that everybody needs in order for this to be in good order? So the system is dynamically pulling through 3 forms. One is a very simple questionnaire we'll step through that we ask that allows us to understand how we want the workflow to work. First question is going to be, again, firm type, is it broker dealer RIA? It'll default to RIA because we had said RIA in the previous question. We're going to ask the question, If there is a requirement for compliance or principal signature review, we'll say no to keep it simple in here. But in certain cases, particularly in the broker-dealer world, they may require someone in the home office or a principal who does have to sign off. And if that's the case, the system is smart enough to ask some follow-up questions as to who is the principal name, what is their email, and do they accept DocuSign? Because if so, we'll automatically pull them through into the signature flow. To keep it simple, we can just simply say there's nothing required from a principal. And that automatically moves us into step 2, which is completing the subscription document. One thing to take note of, if we look in the top right, where Dan had done the swirl for me at 97%, is that 97% of the subdoc has already been completed. So the fact that in this scenario, this advisor has been there before and set up account and investor information with us, it's automatically pre-filling this information. So the only thing that's remaining, as we note here in some of these fields in green, are the required things to complete the subdoc that we need in order to get to 100%. So as Dan is filling out these green fields, you'll note on the top right, the donut chart is automatically in real time updating. And so we're going to go from 99 to 100. And that's the indication that everything you need to support the subdoc has been completed. And now it moves us to step 3, which is the C&B form. And the reason we have the C&B form is when we selected this initial investment, we happened to say, hey, let's use C&B to support custody. And in just a couple of clicks, we give everything that C&B needs. So now that says 100%. And now we can hit continue. And literally in 3 or 4 minutes, whatever that took, we just completed the subscription document for the REIT product. We just completed the C&B form. And now we can move into the signature gathering process. But basically, the paperwork is all complete. And what we did for illustrative purposes to show how simple it is, we just answered questions in a way where those are the only documents complete. However, we've planned for incredibly high levels of complexity. So if someone were to say, hey, this is a trust account versus an individual account and so on, the system knows that there are certain questions that need to be answered. It will guide an advisor to say, please supply the trust document. So in the end, the system is going to guide everybody to ensure that everything that's required to make this in good order will be in good order. And while we create what we would call a TurboTax like overlay for this, in the end, we're still producing documents because we know that everybody has their own documents, their language, their disclosure. And so now the sub document, now we just moved into the C&B document. And then from there, we can quickly move into signatures and we support DocuSign. The key thing for us to note is that DocuSign is an expense to AIX. There is no expense to our financial advisors who are members, nor is there an expense to the sponsor. It's an expense that AIX bears. So we've integrated with DocuSign. And what's happening is when we said send this out, the financial advisor is able to send a personalized message that is automatically sending the signature process out to the investor. So you can see where it says sending to the right. That is letting the advisor know that the DocuSign package has already been sent for signature. It's in process. The advisor will get a personalized note from the advisor noting them to support signature. They will be able to sign. And then we have an update that in about every 60 seconds, the system will update, and then it will know that when it is been signed by the advisor, that it can go back to the advisor by the client. It can be countersigned by the advisor. And so this is an example from being an investor specific experience. I now receive my DocuSign envelope from my financial advisor. I've completed all the initials. I've done my signature, and I've now completed not only the subscription agreement document, but I've also completed the C&B form. Another important thing we draw attention to is, and again, the purpose of keeping it really simple for everybody involved, we're supporting the e-sign policies of everybody in the transaction. So we know sometimes C&B might have different requirements than TD Ameritrade versus Schwab versus Fidelity. And we take care of that. We understand the policies from all those custodial providers. So we'll never provide an option they don't support. And for those they do support, it's just going to guide the financial advisor through it so they don't have to think about it. They fill out the signatures. And at this point, we've completed all the paperwork. We've gathered all the signatures. We'll see momentarily when it go to the advisor line, it says not sent yet. It is going to get updated as DocuSign reports back to AIX to let the advisor know they've completed signature. And at that point, we'll see right now is the little continue button. That continue button will become enabled in about 60 seconds to say, hey, you've completed the paperwork, you've gathered the signatures. And at that point, everything you need to support that subscription is done. And then they're able to send it off wherever it needs to go. And we work with each party to try and automate that as much as possible. In C&B's case, as soon as we hit continue, what they're able to do is there's all the documents, everything signed, we could hit submit. And then C&B, literally in a moment's notice, is going to get an email that says there's a new subscription waiting for them. And they log in AIX and they complete processing right then and there. And for those that are non-custodied, we send in real time that information directly to the fund administrator, and they can begin processing. So in this, in about 10 minutes, we completed all the paperwork. We did the signatures with the subdoc, the custodians, and then we moved things off where they need to go. And we should expect it should be, 95% without, any type of issue from an in good order perspective. And if people have questions, then we supply an 800 number to step through any questions they might have. Whole name of the game is to try and make it easy. And hopefully we tried to illustrate that today and just really show you how easy we think it can be.
Fantastic. Thank you, Brad. You brought up a good point on the DocuSign that there's no cost to the advisor. Is there any cost to use the AIX platform for straight through processing to the advisor?
What we just did is no charge. So we walk through. If you want to go to AIXplatform.com, app.AIXplatform.com, and all you got to do is send an email to support@AIXplatform.com. We will set you up. There is no expense to the advisor. So the advisor will have access to that portal at no fee. They'll get the benefit of knowing that the subscription agreements are current, the custodial forms are current, the DocuSign is no charge, and the DocuSign policies are automatically enforcing the custodial parties and the sponsors, and there is no expense to the financial advisors for using that technology. And once they go there, that information persists. So they come back and do more business and other trades. That account investor information is there, and it will automatically pre-fill those forms. The name of the game is to try and make it really, really easy for everybody to do business and make it more efficient, make it easy, better experience, and really help to try and grow, assets in this space.
Terrific. Is there anything else in your presentation, or I will open it up for questions now, Brad? I think we have a few minutes left for questions.
Happy to field any questions that come up. The only thing I'd share, broadly is, our reason for being is simply to make it, easier to do business. We are a technology company. We are not, we don't provide diligence. We don't provide asset management. We just want to be, the tech that makes it easier to do business. And part of our mantra and mission is to not only support subscriptions, but we look, beyond that on a post-trade basis, where we look to do other things like automating maintenance and transfers and other, types of activities that have been very paper-based and cumbersome for financial advisors. But our only reason for being is to make it easier for people to do business and trying to get people connected across this space. But happy to field any questions that anyone might have.
Thank you, Brad. Good stuff. Mallory, I believe you have a slide on our latest offering while we're waiting for questions to come in queue. Can you just want to reference everyone to the latest offering here at Hartman? It's a credit facility for the purchase of DSTs. The program size is $12.5 million. We can extend it up to $25 million. Has a 2-year term with a possible 1-year extension. So maximum offering of $25 million and full cycle in 36 months. 8% preferred, paid annually, guaranteed by the sponsor. 100% of the fees and load paid by the sponsor. So it's a website with all this information. It's available on the Hartman main website to direct you there. some of the, and there you go. There you can see how to find us and how to find information on the latest Hartman Capital Fund, as well as other offerings that the organization has. And I believe we have at least, one question coming in here. So Brad, when you're using the AIX platform, does it completely eliminate the not in good order, or is there anything that can happen that may still have it bounce back for more completion?
I would say, like most things in life, it's not a binary. So I'd say we would find 95% or higher. Would say our general trend line is not in good order. Or excuse me, we'd say it's 95% is in good order. We get the NIGOs down to sub 5%. And then the balance of it, we go, well, where does that 5% come from? Sometimes it's a function of when we work with different partners, they don't want a certain rule to be hard and fast. They might say, hey, you know what? We want this to come through. We might want to ask a clarifying question in the back end. So it's typically not a hardcore, not in good order rejection. It might be they want to ask a clarifying question. And that really is a product of when we work with our partners to say, how hard and fast do you want the rules to be? But we believe that we're eliminating, the NIGO issues at what we think are industry best practice rates.
Terrific. Yeah, absolutely. 5% or less versus 50% is a marked improvement. No doubt. Very efficient. All right. I believe we've come to the end of our program today. I'd like to thank Brad for his time and his colleagues. I should say, and very much thank them for the overview. It was insightful, and as always, I learned something new when we go through this. For those of you who work with Hartman, we thank you for your business, and we look forward to hearing from each and every one of you. Have a good day. Thank you, Brad.
Thank you for the opportunity.